Welcome to the Tech Ranch, where we explore the world of living with technology. Get ready to take a deep dive into the latest gadgets, apps, and innovations with your hosts, the Guru of Geek, Marlo Anderson, and his trusty co-host, Steve Bakken. Join us on this exciting journey, and don't forget to visit thetechranch.com for even more exclusive content. Now, without further ado, let's welcome Marlo and Steve to the Tech Ranch.
And welcome to the Tech Ranch, everybody. I have a special guest for you today. He is a 16-year-old. He hails from Mandan, North Dakota, and he's my grandson. Hey, Logan, how you doing?
Pretty good.
Good. Logan Dutenhoff for everybody. Logan and I have been kind of working on a project for, I guess it will be a year on Thanksgiving, huh?
Yeah.
So 11 months anyway.
Yep.
Yeah, so why don't you tell everybody what we've been working on?
So we were on a family vacation, and we made this new game called Ace Putt. It's just a new version of mini golf, and we think it's a lot better than normal mini golf.
Okay, so maybe talk a little bit about how the idea got started and how things kind of just came together on that Thanksgiving Day in 2023.
So, like I said, we were on family vacation, and we were actually supposed to go see Hulk Hogan for the day, but I ended up being sick that morning. So everybody else went off to do their own thing, and we decided to go play some mini golf and started thinking about these new rules that we could incorporate into a new game. And that's kind of how it became what we call it, Ace Putt now.
So we kind of came up with this game, and we'll get to the rules in just a second, everybody. But it's the Tech Ranch, so we have to think about the technology side of things. So I think the first thing that, outside of the fact that we had a lot of fun that day playing Ace Putt, and the circumstances around how you started to feel better a little bit later in the morning, and you and I snuck off and played some mini golf, that when we were working our way back to where we were staying that evening, remember, we were kind of digging around for what we're going to call this, and kind of what happened there.
So if I remember right, we were just, I think, asking Chat GPT some good names that we could call this, and we went through a whole bunch of different names and finally came up with Ace Putt. I don't remember if it was exactly what it said or if we kind of put it together. I don't remember.
I think it was exactly what it said, but I think the interesting part was that when we went and looked for the domain,
it was
available.
Yeah.
And there aren't a lot of 7-letter domains. I mean, you could go Z342815 and it would be gone. So the fact that we could find aceputt.com was also one of them things. But so tell everybody how it works.
So normal mini golf, you get one ball and everybody takes turn. You shoot your ball. If you miss, you go up and you finish it off into the hole. And however many strokes, that's how many points you get. With our game, you get 3 balls and you shoot them all one after another. So you'd start with the 3 ball and then work your way down to the 1 ball. And the thing with it is, you get 3 points for the 3 ball, the 2 points for the 2 ball, and the 1 point for the 1 ball. And so you shoot the 3 ball first because you're figuring out the hole. You get that many points, and then it should be getting easier as you move on through that hole. So,
and the only shot that counts is the hole in one.
Yeah,
right?
The only shot that counts. Is the hole.
So you don't hit the second or the third shot or whatever. You're just playing for the hole in one.
Yep.
So I shoot the 3 ball, Logan, and then I shoot the 2 ball, and I haven't put them in yet. If I were to actually, with the 1 ball now, like hit the 3 ball and the 3 ball goes in, what happens there?
So you'd get the points for all the balls that go in the hole. So if you hit the 3 ball in, but your 1 ball misses, you get 3 points.
Yep. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So you can score up to 6 points a hole. And then at the end of it, is it still the low score that wins?
It's the high score that wins.
Okay.
Actually.
Okay. Yep. So you can score up to 6 points a hole. We've played a few times. We've had some events here, even in the Bismarck area. We went out and played Medora earlier in the season. What has been, the reaction that you've seen from people playing the game
So I think people really like this game and are excited for it to come out for everybody to start playing. Everybody's been telling me, that they like it a lot more.
It's a challenging game, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it just brings on more fun, though.
Yeah, yep. I agree with that. I think it's a lot of fun, too. So we've been working through building the app out. And yes, there's an app that comes along with this. And why don't you talk a little bit about the challenges that we've had with the app development to this point?
So we started out we had our first app developer, and we don't think he was really doing much. So we had to unfortunately fire him.
I don't know why we're laughing about that, but I mean, how much time do you think we wasted on that? 4 or 5 months, probably?
At least, yeah.
Yeah. But now we have a new team.
Yep. And they're doing great.
Yeah. And in fact, so great that
AcePut is out in Android app stores.
Yeah. So you can actually go on to the Android app store right now and download AcePut. But it's not 100% functional yet, is it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's functional, but what's the thing that we don't have in there? The
AcePut version. We have normal mini golf in there, but no AcePut yet.
Well, and we haven't been able to load up the mini golf courses across the country.
Yeah.
So right now they're kind of placeholders that you see in there, and they're regular golf courses. We just put some pictures of some regular golf courses in there, but pretty soon, within the next week or so, Logan and I are going to get very busy because we're going to be putting in regular miniature golf courses in there, and then you'll be able to play regular miniature golf. And then as we sign up golf courses, they will also have the option for AcePut as well. So that's kind of how it works. The thing with this too is that there's no scorecard anymore, is there?
No, it's all digital now.
And it keeps track as you go along.
Yep.
So one of the things that I've always hated about miniature golf is that it's kind of this surprise at the end. Oh, I wonder how I did, and everybody adds it up, and then that's where you're at. This version will keep track as you go along. And what about other features in the app?
So it'll tell you where the nearest AcePut miniature golf course is that are certified. It'll also have all your friends in there, so you can see their scorecards and all their scores and people all around the world too that have it.
So we have a leaderboard.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. So leaderboards for the local course, maybe I think we have one for local, is it city? And then worldwide or something along those lines.
Like that,
I forget the 3 different levels we have, but there's a few courses in there. Or a few different type of leaderboard boards in there. So, all right. So Logan, how do we find AcePut?
By either searching it in Safari, Google, or going into the Android App Store.
Yeah, and you can go on our website too and find out all the stuff. And if you have a miniature golf course that you'd like us to talk to about having AcePut on it, I think they could reach out to us now, right?
Mm-hmm.
That'd be kind of cool. So, all right, everybody. Logan, it's been great. Thanks for giving us an update on AcePut. And I'm looking forward to some nicer weather. You and I are going to get down south here sometime over the winter so we can play a little bit more.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll get to go see Hulk Hogan finally.
Yeah, finally.
That'd be okay too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Welcome back to the Tech Ranch. Let's get back to discovering the latest in technology with the guru of geek, Marlo Anderson.
And welcome back to the Tech Ranch, everybody. Now in studio, old friend, new friend, however you want to look at it, Mr. Jim Stillroom.
Hey.
You're back again.
I am. I want more frequent flyer miles, please.
That's it. I'm getting the punch card made just for you.
Just for me.
Come in here and you can redeem them for donuts or something like that.
That's all I need is more
donuts. Yeah. Yeah. Do you want some? How about celery? Would you like celery?
As long as it goes in a Bloody Mary.
I didn't even know this was a thing. I had a speaking gig this week down in South Dakota and was staying in Britain, and their eatery in the evenings is basically the country club. They don't have a lot of restaurants. It's a town of 1,200 people, and there's a few things, but the country club was amazing, and they had amazing food. And I looked over at this sign, and it said, let's see, it was a Bloody Mary bar, something about a bar, like a salad bar thing, right? and you can create your own.
Yep.
You've done this before?
I've not done it, but I've seen it.
So what do they, I mean, other than salary, what else do they have on this?
Oh, all kinds of vegetables like olives and peppers. You go to the really good ones, they have bacon and
Oh my.
beef sticks, and sometimes they'll skewer hamburger sliders that you put on top of them. Yeah. So
does the Bloody Mary become like a salad dressing as opposed to the reason why you're drinking it? That sounds interesting.
It is truly a meal.
It's a condiment.
itself.
It's like ketchup on your slider. Yeah.
It kind of could be. Yes.
Interesting. Well, anyway, I know we're getting a little off topic here, but you just missed Logan. We were talking about that Ace Putt is now available on Google Play and soon to be on Apple. When it's obviously still in beta, but I know you've been involved in the Ace Putt scenario for a little bit too. And is it exciting for you? You've had apps come out before.
I've never had an app come out. A lot of software come out.
Okay, so when you were with the state, you had some software that was built, but that was specifically for the state, right?
Correct.
So it wasn't to the public.
It was all for the public because with the way of government and the way of technology, government doesn't like to put a lot of people into a lot of resources into people to do data entry. They would much rather that data entry be done by the customer. And so would the customer rather do their own data entry for like business registrations or uniform commercial code or all of those, even contractors' licenses and everything else that we did. We built software so that they could do that themselves, and then we would just review the data that was entered.
So if there was a typo, it was on the person entering it. There was their issue more than your issue, which I'm sure was a big deal.
It was a huge deal and a great relief to us because of the times that we would be actually sued over the misentry of data.
That's interesting. I never really thought about that before. But of course, I mean, if you come up with a company name or a trade name or something along those lines, and it's unique and might not be spelled, somebody else might think it's spelled a different way, just like names are or whatever. The person entering the data might not even think about how it could possibly be spelled. Whereas if you're the person who came up with this, you're more likely to spell it correctly.
Especially when you think about all the creative ways that you can spell, for example, Dakota.
Sure.
You can spell it with an AH.
Yep.
You can, there's any number of different ways.
I've certainly seen it, the CATOH type of scenario as well.
Right.
Yep.
And businesses in their pursuit to be unique, they do that sort of thing,
yep.
Which I actually, advised was counterproductive because if you're an individual looking for a business, you're going to spell Dakota the way Dakota
is
spelled as a state.
Yep.
And so people are going to miss out on you in Google searches because they won't necessarily find you.
That's very valid, actually, and a good lesson for everybody that's listening right now. If you're looking at how you do better in Google searches or whatever for your business, and if you have, I guess as I'm thinking back a little bit, if you have a name that's kind of already established but is unusual in that regard, if you're spelling Dakota a different way or something, you probably need to add the word Dakota in your description or wherever that's how it's spelled normally, so that people can find you, even if they're looking for what would be considered a misspelling of your company name. Because misspellings actually are very popular. I used to capitalize on that a lot. I would, it's funny that you bring up this Dakota thing, right? So I used to collect a lot of postcards and old photographs of Mandan, North Dakota, and North Dakota in general. And then I have a lot of Bismarck too. And I would go on eBay in the early days and type in like Bismarck, North Dakota. And some people would spell it out, right? And they would spell it the wrong way. So I would search for those. And the reason I would search for those is because nobody else looked for them.
Right.
Right. So then they might have an opening bid of $2.50 on it. Well, nobody else is bidding on it because they misspelled it. So I would pick up these things for $2, $2.50 or whatever, simply because of the misspelling. Bismarck was very popular because a lot of people forgot to put the C in Bismarck. So it was, if they were not from around here, they would put M-A-R-K.
Right.
And I picked up a lot of stuff that way, you know. DeLax, North Dakota, where I came from, a lot of people will put DeLax together as one word. I mean, there's all these things. So this is misspellings can be actually a very powerful way to find items on eBay or whatever for a lot less money if you're looking for those specific type of things.
I understand that's true in the literature world as well. If there's misspellings or mistypings of dates of publishing or
sure,
because they want to correct those as quickly as possible. Yep. And so if you can get one of those limited run ones,
yep,
you really have something.
Yep. So yeah, this misspelling, again, Jim and I always go down rabbit holes, but this is something I never thought we'd even ever talk about on this show.
This is a badger hole.
This is a badger hole. But it is, and nowadays, misspellings aren't as common because we have things like Grammarly and spell checks and things, but it does still happen because people sometimes don't invest in those things. And so, yeah, if you want to pick up a deal on eBay or Amazon or whatever, a lot of times you can find these things relatively inexpensive.
And we're back. Don't miss a minute of the Tech Ranch as we explore the cutting edge of tech with Marlo and Steve. For more exclusive content, visit thetechranch.com.
And in the studio, Mr. Jim Silverum. We were talking about ace, but for a second went down the misspelling thing. But that actually is great advice. So, as you were developing software, is there anything else that you can maybe share with everybody? Maybe some of the woes you had of software development back, when did you do this? Like 8 or 10 years ago, 5 years ago?
During my entire 20 years.
The entire time.
At Secretary of State.
You always had software in development?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
It was, and oftentimes several different pieces of software at once. So I would have to go from one meeting to the next and one meeting I'm talking about elections, and the next meeting I'm talking about uniform commercial code, and the next meeting I'm talking about business registration. And those are so broad in terms of the scope of what you need to know for those that it was always a fun challenge because it felt like I needed to have a different hat for every meeting I went into. But we didn't wear hats at the Capitol, so I almost thought about changing my tie.
And you had, I remember running into a group of software developers was it Northbrook Mall one time? They had they'd rented a large space up there. And I was surprised. I mean, there were 30, 40, 50 people working in this space. So you would have large groups of people developing stuff too, right?
Well, that was back in the day when, it still is this way, but there is an information technology department in North Dakota state government.
Right.
And they did have developers in the early stages, and they still do to a certain extent. But when a good friend of ours, Sean Riley, came in and was CIO for the state, he changed all of that because he said, why should state government be doing things that the private sector can do far better? So much better for us to, as a state, to hire companies to build software for us rather than have people on staff who know every type of computer language to build code in for the specific needs of a particular agency. It just became much more focused. Information technology went from being more focused on software development to being more of a cybersecurity protection environment,
right?
Because that was so critical.
So, and the reason, by the way, everybody, that we're talking about this a little bit is that I know a lot of companies are probably a little afraid they know that they probably need some type of software or an app or something, but the barriers to making that happen are just so great, or have been so great, that they just continue to just move on without them, and I'm just kind of setting this up in a way so that people can understand that at one time that probably was very true, and you had to have like state governments, federal governments develop these type of things because the cost was just significant. I mean, it was nothing, I'm sure, for the state to spend millions of dollars on software development every year. You're laughing because it was more than that, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. And when you get into the largest part of government is human services, so you get into that world, and the software expenses there are mind-boggling.
Yep. So now we fast forward a little bit, and everything is really driven by apps nowadays. I mean, even when you're on your computer, they don't even call them programs anymore. I mean, there's like the app selection when you're in your Windows machine or whatever, right? And so everything is kind of this app type of development now. And you've been, with our firm now for, I guess, a little over a year, right? Doesn't even seem like that's even possible, Jim. But you've watched the growing up of the app for AcePut.
Mm-hmm.
And you've been part of the discussions that we've had about, the challenges that we've had. But these challenges we've had to date are nothing like what you used to have to deal with, right?
Correct. Absolutely. Because I was building software in a time when hardly anybody used smartphones or things like that. But we had to then transition to the mobile world, and so there was, even if you had software that was good and working well, you had to modify it because it had to be adaptable to the device that it's being viewed on.
Right.
And that was a big change. You don't easily take green screen technology and put it into a mobile device. It's in many of those instances it required a complete overhaul.
And generally nowadays, when you build things, I mean, it's already all taken into consideration that when you're building your software, your app or whatever, that it's going to look this way on a large screen, it's going to look this way on a tablet, it's going to look this way on an iPhone or a Android device, and everything is built in a reactive type of scenario. I'm just using this as one example. So when it's done up front that way right away, you don't have to worry about any of this stuff so much anymore. And the other thing that I think, I'm just guessing here, but what you find amazing is that, I mean, I know we've gone through two teams, and we went through the first team, and after we finally got so frustrated with it, we finally let them go and started with another team. But we're not even a year into this project, and we have an app on the Google Store.
Yep.
That's pretty amazing when you think about it. And the size of the team, right? This is a small team that is developing this app, and then another small team that's developing the other one. And even the cost of doing this, which, it's still a little costly when you're a startup, but it's nothing. I mean, I think that, 2 to 3 years ago, AcePut would have cost, at least $500,000 to develop what we have. And we're probably going to be in that $50,000 to $60,000 range for both teams. Mm-hmm. So the first team costs a lot less. I mean, there was some cost to it. The newer team is a little bit more. but it's still significantly less than what it could have been. And what's crazy about it is that if we did it today, it'd be even less money because of AI. And we will get into the barrier of cost and doing these things when we come back after the break, everybody. So stay tuned.
Thanks for staying with us on the Tech Ranch. Let's rejoin Marlo and Steve as they guide us through the fascinating world of technology.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Tech Ranch. Jim Silrim, a long, short friend of our show, I guess. I don't know. You have become the new Dave Blair of the Tech Ranch.
A long, short friend, huh? Okay. I don't know how. There are other things you could have said about me. I'm glad you didn't.
Dave was always kind of back in the early days, was always our go-to if we had some reason where we didn't have a guest showing up or whatever. And we haven't had a lot of guests in the last year, and we should probably get back to that one of these days. But there's always so much to talk about. It's just tough to even bring somebody in that's even really specialized, because we tend to like to talk about the things at the moment type of thing, so. But anyway, we're talking about software development, and Jim was talking a lot about his woes when he was with the state and the development of software and how things have changed a lot. And you really said something over the break that maybe you should share.
Well, if any of it should go without saying, but when you're in the process of talking to a developer to build some software for you or customize some software for you, make sure that you still ask to make sure they're going to build it in a web responsive way, which means that it will respond appropriately to the device that it's being viewed with.
Right.
So don't just assume that they will, because they can, but some software developers will take the easiest way out, and then later they'll say, well, you never told us that was a specification. Sure. So
I think a lot of things nowadays, and we're really going to get into AI now, everybody. So, the ability.
Artificial insemination?
No, intelligence.
Okay.
They tell you that story about the ranchers. Yeah. Did I say that on the air? I don't know if I told everybody that. I was in that's right. You were at one of my talks, and this is so funny. We were visiting with a bunch of people in Western North Dakota a couple of years ago. So this is before ChatGPT came out and things. But I was talking about artificial intelligence and how it will change the world. And this was, again, in a rural setting in Western North Dakota. And I don't ever say the words artificial intelligence. I just go through this entire talk for an hour about AI. And afterwards, this 40-ish, maybe late 30s, 40-ish couple comes up to me, and the lady, she's like, so what does the impregnation of our cows have to do with running our place more efficiently and writing emails? And I just looked at her, and I was like, what? And all I could think about was that couple is sitting there the entire time, and every time I said AI, they're like looking at each other like, what is it we don't know? So anyway, yes. So I make it a point now when I talk about AI at some point in the conversation that I say, and early on, that it's artificial intelligence, just so people don't get lost in that. But it's a funny story. Yeah. So, with AI, this ability to, even, and I'm just going to, let's just start from the beginning. Let's say you have an app that you've been thinking about. Jim and I, we go out one night, we have a couple beers. This happens a lot, by the way, and people write ideas down on bar napkins or whatever, right? And then the next day.
Let's be clear on that. You and I do not go out and have a couple beers quite often.
No. But in the world,
yes,
this happens often. And then the next day, when people start checking it out a little bit, they're like, the reality sets in, and they're like, oh my goodness, it's going to cost $500,000 to build this app. We can't afford to do that. I mean, so that barrier of cost has stopped so many people from developing their ideas. Mm-hmm. Now, if I came to you and we had the same idea, and I came, investigated, and the cost was $25,000, the two of us might say, well, oh my goodness, we could both split that and put it on a credit card, and away we go. I mean, that truly is where we're at right now. And it's getting better every day. I mean, it's incredible what is going on in the AI world and this driving down of cost, because AI is now coding, and there's actually AIs like Cursor that are doing this. Claude, C-L-A-U-D-E, Claude. Is that how you say it? I suppose. I always want to say cloud, but that's not right. And I use Claude quite a bit. I should probably learn how to say it. Claude has really been quite interesting, and has been kind of a leader in code development. But anyway, what I'm getting at here is that there's so much that you can just, it's almost like if you've played with text to image, like if I were to say to ChatGPT, create an image of two guys in their 60s that have eaten too many donuts in their life, sitting in front of a couple microphones talking like they're on a radio show, it would create that for us, right? I mean, it would create some image of that. Imagine this ability now to say, I have this app idea, and I would talk this through with a ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever. And then when you're done talking about the idea, and when I say talk, I literally mean talk. You can just visit with the AI like I'm talking to you now. And when you're done, it will create an outline for you that you can then send to your developer. And that developer might be another AI like Cursor that will then look at that and go, oh, this is what you want? Boom, 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 boom. And here, it's building out all the code that you need. And then there's another AI that will implement that code like into GCP, like Google Cloud Platform or whatever. So it can be on a server and allow that app to be used. And, all that process, I see the day in the very near future where you might just speak the whole thing, what you want, and the next thing you know, it's done. I mean, we're racing towards that right now. So all these ideas that have been just on bar napkins in your mind and whatever will now start to emerge. And because that barrier of cost has been greatly reduced or removed, I believe that we're going to see just this emergence, this renaissance, whatever you want to call it, of small businesses.
Yeah.
So
Marlo, do you ever think we're going to get to the point where even the building of apps would be outdated because AI will be so sophisticated that you just say, well, this is what I want, and almost be like for a single use kind of scenario. And yeah, you can repeat it anytime you want to, but you just speak to your AI, so you don't necessarily have to have an app to do this. I always think about what's coming next. First there was software, then there was apps. What's next?
If you have any questions or want to suggest topics for future shows, visit thetechranch.com and send us your thoughts. You can also listen to past episodes and watch exclusive interviews not featured on the radio show. Be sure to follow Marlo and Steve on social media by clicking the links at thetechranch.com. Until next time, keep exploring the world of living with technology. The Tech Ranch.
You had to wait there with your finger on the button, waiting for the DJ to play your favorite song, and then you recorded it. Well, that's not as good a quality.
Right.
Just like going from an album to a cassette, not as good a quality. So it degrades every generation.
Mm-hmm. It does. With albums, I've only done a few so far, and I think it does a fairly good job of maintaining the quality. But when I'm doing a cassette tape, the player head picks up a lot of hiss, because it's listening to the tape move through as well. So you got the sound, plus you have that background hiss. So whenever I get like a tape hiss, I will filter out that noise, just because it improves the listenability of the underlying song. But whenever it's somebody's memories, or I do a reel-to-reel tape or something like that, I leave it alone. unless there's something really, really wrong with the recording that needs me to maybe either make it louder or softer, or if there's just a really bad background noise that just is going to make the listening to it painful.
Well, pain to one person is a little subjective.
Yeah.
Depends on what you're listening to. So how does that work with the video side of things? So when you're looking at going from one medium to another, because I don't know on the video side as much because I'm an audio guy. I'm in broadcasting and the music side of things. So I know how that responds going from generation to generation to generation. How does that work with film or pictures or things that people are trying to preserve on the video side of things?
Well, the VHS, I think sometimes the audio is the first to go on those. I don't have a lot of experience on the audio side because it just digitizes everything for me, video and audio together. And then I notice it mainly when if somebody's recorded a movie or it's directly on a camcorder, you're going to get some situations where the audio is not really good. Like people recorded a wedding and they set up their camera right next to the organist. So I hear all the music.
No, don't do that.
And then I can't hear the
I-dos and the
officiant. So that I can go in and I can adjust the decibels on a piece-by-piece basis so I can get the volume where it needs to be so you can actually hear what's going on and you don't get blasted out by the organist. So I can do that. Most of the editing programs I have, I can adjust the audio and the video separately. I did have one, we use Wondershare, and in the latest version, they actually have an AI speech enhancer where if it's a section of audio that's being spoken, it'll go in there and it'll try to clean it up and make it more intelligible. My experience has been so using it on a few different tapes where they interviewed their father, and this is like his historical interview, and it's been 30 years since he interviewed him. He's passed away, and they want to preserve this memory. I found that it makes the spoken, it does a lot to get rid of that background hiss and that noise so I can actually hear the audio, but it garbles up what was spoken.
Really?
Yeah. So I don't think the AI is 100% perfect. I did that with another file. Adobe has a free sound enhancer program that you can just upload a file and it'll try to clean it up and make all the things clean. I ran a snippet of a Subway commercial through it because I wanted it for Avocado Day. And it got rid of the background music. It's like, I need that. That's part of the commercial.
Supertalk 1270.
Welcome to November 2nd on the National Day calendar. Today, we'll discover how one man's childhood promise saved an entire species and why ancient Romans blamed their appetizers on the underworld.
In 1905, a young conservationist stood in New York's Bronx Zoo, staring at something tragic, one of the last remaining herds of American bison. Remembering his childhood promise to save these magnificent creatures, he began an ambitious rescue plan. That determined youth was Theodore Roosevelt. His efforts helped bring bison back from just 1,000 animals to over 400,000 today. On this National Bison Day, we honor how one boy's dream helped rescue America's largest land mammal.
So I'm assuming you've gone through Theodore Roosevelt National Park.
I have. I have an interesting story about that. My dad was walking over at the Painted Canyon Overlook, and suddenly there's a bison right behind them. And my dad just stepped to the side and let it walk on by. It was very bizarre.
That's an amazing space to see bison, though. There's no doubt about it. Ancient Romans had a peculiar way of naming their spiciest dishes. They claimed these foods were so fiery, they must have been prepared in the underworld itself. Their most popular devilish creation? Eggs seasoned with spicy sauces and mustard. On this National Deviled Egg Day, we celebrate how these eggs of the underworld evolved into today's beloved party appetizer, proving that sometimes the most heavenly treats come with a devilish reputation.
Set out, run, but take my time. A friend of the devil is a friend of mine. I get home before daylight, just might get some sleep tonight.
So paprika or no paprika on your deviled eggs?
It has to be paprika.
Yeah.
Yeah, just for the look of it more than anything.
It gives
how about you?
Definitely paprika. I like a little smoky paprika on there. Maybe a little jalapeno.
Yeah.
Even spicier.
Sounds like you've made these once or twice.
Once or twice.
Yeah.
Once I actually mistakenly swapped the amount of salt and pepper. So there was like twice as much pepper as it was salt. That was an interesting Thanksgiving.
I bet it was.
I'm Chris Van Deventer.
I'm Marlo Anderson.
Thank you for joining us on our journey to celebrate every day.
And join us for all of our adventures on Facebook and Instagram at Destination Celebration Show. Until next time, keep celebrating.
This is Outdoor Issues with Neil Roberts and North Dakota Game and Fish outreach biologist Greg Gullickson.
The North Dakota State Game and Fish is a busy place. A lot of content comes out on a regular basis. And Greg, I know you're a big part of that, as is the whole team there. I mean, there's just a lot of excellent info on your website. Tell us the latest.
Yeah, you're right, Neil. A lot of great things can be gleaned from the website. Probably one of the main things is the news. We have a weekly newscast that comes out. We have the webcast, a lot of great things that happen and a lot of information that you can gather from the website. If you're interested in hunting and fishing tutorial stuff, there's a couple great sections on there. If you've never fished before, click on our website and there's a tutorial on how to fish. And it's not just how to boat fish, but shore fish, ice fish, spear fish, a lot of the basic ingredients that you need to get yourself out in the field for hunting as well, whether it's upland game or waterfowl. Just a lot of great information can be gathered from that website or gleaned from the website.
All right, good stuff, Greg. Hey, we'll have more on the website when we come back.
From small game rifles to personal protection, Hunter Firearms has it all. Voted #1 gun store in North Dakota, Hunter Firearms has over 1,700 guns at great prices. Benelli, Colt, Kimber, Springfield, plus knives, ammo, and reloading supplies. With a knowledgeable staff providing one-on-one service. Buy, sell, trade. Hunter Firearms in Stanley, off the 4-lane of Highway 2, 45 minutes west of Minot. Monday through Saturday, 10 till 6. HunterFirearmsLLC.com.
I can't stop the storm, but I can start your peace of mind. I'm Ann Waterrood, your licensed crop and hail specialist for North Dakota and Montana. When those clouds gather on the horizon, have your risk protection locked in. With 28 years of experience, I've cared for 3 generations of farmers. I know what it's like to stand by you through the good weather and the bad. Keep your legacy safe. Call me, Ann Waterrood Insurance Agency, 701-705-5700. That's 701-705-5700.
Talking the North Dakota State Game and Fish website today on outdoor issues. And Greg, I know another valuable tool is renewing or purchasing licenses, right? Tell us about that.
Absolutely. You know, whether it's a hunting or fishing license, applying for the lottery, in this day and age, most of us aren't filling out paper forms anymore. You know, it's online and it's instantaneous and you get the results on your phone. And I mean, there's just a lot of great things that can happen by using the website, downloading the Game and Fish app. There's
KLXX AM, Mandan, Bismarck, a Town Square media station, broadcasting from the View Community Credit Union Studio.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. Early voting wraps up this weekend ahead of Tuesday's election. Kamala Harris and Donald Trump stumping in key swing states. Harris in Atlanta driving home her plan, she says, to bring costs down for Americans.
I will give a middle-class tax cut to over 100 million Americans. I will enact the first ever federal ban on corporate price gouging on groceries.
Harris later heads to North Carolina, where Trump is holding one of 2 events there today.
All we want is one simple thing: get out on Tuesday and vote.
Just over a month after Hurricane Helene devastated western North Carolina, the historic Biltmore Estate reopening today. They held their annual tree-raising ceremony as it ushers in the holiday season, one of the busiest for its year. Final preparations underway ahead of tomorrow's New York City Marathon. Security heightened. 50,000 runners will participate. This is ABC News. October's jobs report showing 12,000 jobs added last month, far fewer than projected. Economists say other factors were at play impacting those numbers. Wall Street wasn't worried either. Stocks rallied on Friday. Here's ABC's Alexis Christoforous.
The Labor Department says Hurricanes Helene and Milton, coupled with a major strike at Boeing, likely distorted the numbers, leading to the weakest month for job growth since December of 2020. But there was little impact from the strike or the hurricanes on the unemployment rate, which held steady at 4.1% as wages rose slightly. Now, the most jobs were added in healthcare and government last month, but more than 40,000 jobs were lost in manufacturing. That's thanks in large part to that Boeing strike.
Mexico marking Day of the Dead. Families gathered at cemeteries across the country starting at midnight to remember and reconnect with their loved ones who've died. The tradition that dates back centuries. Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Give the star in your life the brightest gift in the world. Name a star after them. This is Rocky Moselle with International Star Registry. For $59 and a call to 800-282-3333 or visit starregistry.com, you can name a star for birthdays, weddings, or even memorials. Over 45 years, we have named millions of stars for celebrities and individuals from around the world. The star you name will be recorded in book form in the U.S. Copyright Office. Visit starregistry.com or call 800-282-3333.
Supertalk 1270, Bismarck area weather.
With your forecast, I'm Corey Hartman. Areas of fog today, otherwise mostly sunny, breezy, highs near 53. For tonight, chance of rain, a low of 42. Rain and 53 for Sunday. Sunday night, a low around 33, still breezy. Monday, breezy and 49 with sunshine. For the best barbecue sauce on the planet, try Grandpa's secret recipe, grandpasbbqshop.com.
Right now, 35.
From ABC Sports, I'm Joey Waller. Right now, college football, third quarter, Ohio State with a 17-10 lead at Penn State. Will Howard 2 touchdown passes. Duke ahead 21-17 at Miami. Malik Murphy throwing for 2 scores. It's Ole Miss rolling at Arkansas 35-10. Jackson Dart 4 touchdown passes, 3 to Jordan Watkins. Army a 13-3 lead on Air Force. Minnesota up 13-10 at Illinois. And Virginia Tech cruising at Syracuse 20-3. Mets pitcher Sean Manaea and Cubs outfielder Cody Bellinger opting out of next year's deals. Yankees declined their option on first baseman Anthony Rizzo, so he's a free agent. Yanks ace Garrett Cole opts out, but New York can retain him by adding 1 year, $36 million to the 4 seasons left on his deal. The NBA's 2 unbeaten teams remaining so last night. Thunder roll at Portland. OKC now 5-0. 3 of their 6 double-figure scorers in that one coming off the bench, including Aaron Wiggins, who tallies 13.
Man, it's big time. We've got a lot of length and athleticism that we can use, and we do a good job just kind of applying it on the defensive end, making sure that we're kind of hawking the ball and trying to be in the right spots.
Cavaliers improved to 6-0, beating the Magic. Against the Grizzlies tonight, Sixers stars Joel Embiid and Paul George missing a 5th straight game because of knee injuries, and Embiid taking exception to those questioning his commitment to returning.
It's just unfortunate that, some of them are not as lucky as others to be, part of every single game. I wish that wasn't the case, but it's not for the lack of trying.
NHL right now. In Finland, they're in the 3rd. Stars and Panthers are 2-2. Second period, Bruins a 1-0 lead at Philadelphia. Joey Waller, ABC Sports.
Offer not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Honey, the credit card bill came, and we're maxed out.
Maxed out cards, rent is due. We just need some extra cash to help us get by.
Maybe we should go to 27cash.com.
With our bad credit?
27cash.com is one of the largest personal loan networks. They can help people with any type of credit get up to $5,000, and cash can hit our bank account as soon as tomorrow.
When you need extra cash, go to 27cash.com. That's 27cash.com.
Offer not valid in all states or prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Bills piling up? Rent due? Just need some extra cash to get by? Then you need to go to 89cash.com, where you can get approved for a loan of up to $10,000 in minutes. No need to search through endless loan sites. 89cash.com is one of the largest lender networks. They can help anyone get up to $10,000 regardless of their credit score. Best part? The money can be in your bank account as soon as the next day. When you need fast cash help, go to 89cash.com. That's 89cash.com.
Program schedule, updated local news, sports, contests, and more. Visit today at supertalk1270.com.
Portions of the following program are pre-recorded.
Welcome to the Tech Ranch, where we explore the world of living with technology. Get ready to take a deep dive into the latest gadgets, apps, and innovations with your hosts, the Guru of Geek, Marlo Anderson, and his trusty co-host, Steve Bakken. Join us on this exciting journey, and don't forget to visit thetechranch.com for even more exclusive content. Now, without further ado, let's welcome Marlo and Steve to the Tech Ranch.
And welcome back to the Tech Ranch, everybody. This is your Guru of Geek, Marlo Anderson, and sitting next to me is Jim Silram. And we've been talking a lot about app development this year. And Jim, you had said something really interesting right before we went to break. So do you remember what you said?
I do.
All right. Repeat it.
I'm always looking for what's next.
Yes.
First there was software development that was used on computers. Then there was software development that could be used on any kind of device that you're using. Then came apps, and they are still in coexistent space with software that can be used on any kind of device. But my curiosity is always to, well, what's going to come after apps? What's going to come after the next thing? And I can't envision that, other than our AI is going to be so good that we don't need apps anymore, because we just ask AI what we need and AI does it.
So I don't think we're ever going to replace apps, at least how I see it right now, but there might be less use of apps overall, because some of these apps will be replaced by AI, but things like, GPS and things like that, I can't see that and how an AI would actually just take care of it. I mean, it kind of is AI-esque right now. I mean, you talk to your car, you say, hey, take me to the nearest coffee shop, and it provides these directions on your screen and talks you through it as you go there. I don't know how much more it could do. I'm sure it could get much better, and it might tell you that there's a deer in the road 2 miles out when you're driving down the interstate or something like that. Those things are going to start emerging, but generally speaking, that's a pretty good thing, Mm-hmm. But what will be rolling out, I'm showing Jim my paper. I was ready for him. So they're called AI agents.
Okay.
And these are actually starting to be implemented already. So an AI agent would be, and Microsoft is doing this in 365, and they're going to be the first kind of big company that's rolling these out. And it's basically going to be business to business type of applications to start. So you might task your AI agent to do an audit of all of your inventory, and it will audit it for you, right? So you don't have to go and do this manually or using an app or whatever. You might, and we're starting to see more and more of this already with chatbots. When you go to a company and you'll talk to it, and then while you're talking to it, it might say, "Would you like me to book that trip for you now?"
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I would love that. Bang, busy boom, busy bomb. It comes back and it'll have that trip booked for you on Delta or whatever. So those type of things are happening, are starting to happen already, and you're going to get more and more of that. So imagine your AI bot, think of it kind of as, or your AI agent, think of it maybe like a concierge for us at home.
Mm-hmm.
And I might say something to my AI agent that, hey, I visited with Jim yesterday on the golf course, and Jim and Marcy and Alice and I want to go out to dinner tonight. Can you make the reservations for me? And when you have the reservations finished, contact Jim and Marcy, let them know that what time the reservations will be, and boom, that AI agent will do that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I actually saw something like that last night as I was watching. I'm a huge Minnesota Vikings fan, so I watched the pathetic failure of the Vikings against the LA Rams, and while I was watching on Prime, an ad would come up for let's say Coke, and there would be a message on the screen saying, click the OK button and we'll add it to your cart.
Yeah.
And, I'm imagining that it's going to be even more sophisticated as it comes along,
and what's really
have to click on your remote. You can just say, hey, add that to my cart. Or if it's an insurance company, hey, give me a quote for my 2 cars.
Right.
That sort of thing.
Those things are going to become more and more prevalent. And what's interesting about what you're talking about last night is the ad you were watching might have been different than the ad I was watching.
Really?
Isn't that interesting? Yeah. Right. So as advertising becomes more sophisticated, this is the first experience you've had with this, but it'll look at your likes and whatever and understand who you are as a consumer. And I like Doritos and you like corn chips, and the ad that I get is maybe not for Doritos, but something that's similar to Doritos. Hey, if you love Doritos, you should try blah, 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 right? And you might get something, hey, if you love corn chips, if you like Fritos corn chips, you should try this type of thing. Oh yeah, that looks amazing. And and you try it and you can order it. So, and because it knows what our likes and dislikes are.
Sure.
So it's going to, just like advertising on your phone and on your computer screen right now, the advertising you see while you're watching television is going to mimic that. And that ability to order stuff right there will become more and more prominent, because, your remote control probably has a cursor on it, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you can move that around the screen and say, yeah, I want to order that. Or you can, I'm sure with Alexa, probably even say, hey, I want to order that case of potato chips up that's on the screen right now. And I'm sure all this stuff is going to get integrated very, very fast right now. So,
well, if it's watching what I'm watching, like on Prime, where I like action and adventure. So I'm surprised I didn't see any ads for gun shows or.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I'm not saying that it's not 100% there yet, Jim. I'm just saying that, last night, because I noticed this too when I was watching the game last night, that there was a couple times that you could have actually ordered the items that were on the screen, and like it's finally starting to emerge. And I think a lot of people didn't understand why like Amazon wanted to have like football streamed on their platforms, and last night was an example as to why they want that, because it's not just about what they're paying to have people view those programs or whatever. It truly is about how they're monetizing their platform even more, because now you can sell the advertiser on the advertising side, and then you say, oh, by the way, if people want to buy it, they can just buy it from us. And like, oh my goodness, you're serious? People can just buy it. So they actually make money on both sides of the transaction now, which is really, really interesting. And I'm sure a lot of other streaming services are looking at this very closely.
I'm sure they are.
Thanks for staying with us on the Tech Ranch. Let's rejoin Marlo and Steve as they guide us through the fascinating world of technology.
And we are back. Jim Silverham's in studio with me today, and we were just talking about the Thursday night football experience. I know it felt like last night, but it was actually 2 nights ago.
It was last night.
No?
This is Friday, Marlo.
This is Saturday, Jim.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Yes, I am a novice at this sort of thing.
It's okay. It's okay. No, it's funny. So it was actually a night and a half ago. See how time flies when you're.
Oh man,
you're just like, did that just really happen on Thursday night? I'm assuming you were not happy with the outcome of the game.
I was not, and based on the fact that it was now a day and a half ago, I'm wondering what happened to yesterday. So you're probably going to have to talk me pay for not working yesterday.
No, it just seems that way. So yeah, it's Were you dismayed by the no? What was the call with the face
mask?
Asking, yeah. Or do you think the game was already over?
It's not likely they would have won anyway. But, I was disappointed. It just seemed like we could not get to Stafford. The Vikings couldn't get to Stafford. He had all the time in the world in the pocket.
Yeah,
I don't think we had one sack of him. Notice I keep saying we.
Yes. Yeah.
I was born in 1961 in Minnesota, and that's when the Vikings came into being. So I am we.
Okay. That's good to know. Yeah. And someday, but now they've lost 2 in a row. And they were doing so well.
They've become what we thought they were.
Well, they've given me my Sundays back and now my Thursdays as well. So I almost started watching them again, just so you know.
Okay.
I'm that fan.
Yeah.
Where because I'm just tired of the disappointment every year. So I just have given myself the gift of time back on Sundays to go do other things, and I have to admit, I haven't really missed it a whole lot.
Okay.
So just like I don't miss mowing my yard. I like that 80 hours a year I've gotten back as well, because I have an autonomous mower, everybody, just so you understand that I didn't hire a service to do it. But I shouldn't say 80 hours. I would say 70, because I do catch myself watching it work. It was like when we had the vacuum cleaners originally. I would stand there on the steps sometimes and just watch the thing work. So I don't know. I have a fascination for watching things work, Jim, just so you know.
That starting to sound like a state employee. I did not say that, did I?
No, not out loud.
Somebody's going to have to cut that out.
Not out loud.
I didn't say that.
Yeah. All right. Well, getting back to the AI agents. So think about this. So AI agents, if you're just catching us, everybody, Microsoft is just rolling these out. They have 10 that they're going to be rolling out shortly on a business-to-business level. But imagine you are researching something. Let's say your competition, for example, right? So you're opening a new restaurant in your area, and you want to know, like, how many restaurants are in your area already? What is the percentage of people or the number of people to each restaurant in town? Because people look at these stats, right? Because when you're considering opening a restaurant and there's 1,200 people to every one restaurant in one town, and then you go to the next town and it's 500 to 1, you might want to be at the 1,200 to 1 space, right? Because you don't have as much competition. So you can assign an AI agent, you tell it what you want it to do, and it will create the report. It'll go out and investigate. Boom, 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 boom. It might take an hour. It might take a day, but it'll compile as much information as it can and give it to you in a report when it's done, as opposed to you spending the day digging through the internet trying to find out what you can. You can assign the agent to do that. So it's not just about Jim and I going out to dinner and making reservations. It's way more than that. And I don't think we've even scratched the surface on what's possible with AI agents. I really don't think we have. I think it's just like the first couple of apps that came out. There's like 10 apps and 30 apps and 50, and everybody's like, oh, how many more apps can there be? Right? and now we have 2 million. And I believe agents will be the same way. I think agents will actually, an agent, for example, this is the concierge type of thing again, but an agent could be assigned to your calendar. And you and I have talked about this before, where then it will reach out. It knows that it's going to take 18 minutes for you to go from your house to a meeting, right? Mm-hmm. And you have it hooked to Lyft or Uber, and it will actually go out, get the Uber for you or the Lyft, and make sure it's at your place like 20 minutes before your next meeting, so that you can arrive. You can probably tell it, I like to show up like 5 minutes before or whatever, and it will always be that way. And it'll always look at your calendar and make sure there's a car waiting for you when you walk outside to go to your next meeting. Mm-hmm. As an example, so there's all kinds of ways that AI agents will just make your life so much easier. Whether it's in work, whether it's, for your personal life. You think about, I'm just coming up with stuff as I go along here. You're getting married. You're a bride to be. And I know people, and you do too. A wedding can get a little out of control sometimes, and people get stressed to the max about their weddings. Mm. An AI agent could take care of a lot of that for you. All the arrangements of, you just talk to it and say, hey, I need this done. I need that done. I need to get a photographer booked. I need to get the caterers going. This is the menu I would like. And boom, the AI agent just goes out and starts doing all of these things for you. It would be amazing.
It would be.
So it's just, I think I think about event planning. I ran the parade here for a lot of years, and having an AI agent do a lot of that work that went into that type of, you have 5,000 people in the parade. Mm-hmm. And that ability to have an agent that would just communicate with people as they had questions and all this other stuff, that'd have been amazing.
It would have been.
And will be for the people who continue to put that event on moving forward. So it's a remarkable tool, mm-hmm. and will make our lives a lot easier when it comes to all of these things. So we only have another 15 seconds left in this segment. Do you have any last thoughts before we move on?
Well, some of us will just have to get to the point where we trust it more.
Well, there is going to be that, right? It's like riding in the first self-driving vehicle. There's a level of trust that you have, and you have to experience it first before you can get to that point.
You're listening to The Tech Ranch, where technology comes alive. Let's dive back into the conversation with Marlo and Steve. And don't forget to check out thetechranch.com for more.
Well, now we're switching to DNA. Jim Silverum in the studio. We had quite the conversation about AI agents and app building and stuff. We'll continue to talk about apps moving forward. And again, if anybody ever has any questions on stuff, if you've been thinking about an app, this is Jim's phone number. But please, actually, Jim and I like to visit with people. So if you have ever thought about building an app or whatever, and you want to have maybe some advice from the School of Hard Knocks, because both Jim and I have that advice for you, and we can probably help you a little bit. So just reach out, just go to the Tech Ranch and send us an email or whatever. So, have you seen this with 23andMe?
I know of 23andMe.
Okay. What do you know about 23andMe?
And other DNA, or ancestry type, things. Yep. I have never used it or anything like it. Partially because, my heritage is pretty boring. My last name is the name of the family farm in Norway. So I never not known what my heritage is. But I haven't explored it any further than that.
So I did a little bit, and I have a fantastic story about my grandfather because of Ancestry. which I'm not going to get into today, although I told everybody that there's this fantastic story now, so maybe I should. But because of Ancestry, I met my grandfather for the first time about 10 years ago, and then he passed away about a year and a half later. So, so those type of things are possible because of things like Ancestry and 23andMe. I did the DNA test about 4 or 5 years ago with both companies, and there's others too, but the two big ones are Ancestry and 23andMe. So I did both of them. I opened them up on the air, by the way, and I did not, I forget who it was. I think it was Jim Walsh that was sitting across from me at the time, and we opened them up, and that way we could actually see what the results were and how they differed from each other. And there was differences. It was interesting. Nothing major. Ancestry at the time was a little more vague than 23andMe. 23andMe seemed to be a little more dialed in. Like, you have roots in Sicily where Ancestry would say Southern Europe, for example, right? So that was really the big difference. I know that what's interesting about it is that they both continue to send me updates on my DNA. You check a box if you wanted to be updated on things. And like if I'm a carrier of a couple of genetic traits that if that was paired with my partner, for example, we had children, that that person might have a particular disease or whatever, right? So I find that interesting.
Yeah.
And I do believe that sometime in the future that could actually be a thing for people who are dating and thinking about getting married and having children, right? Where they want to see if you're a genetic carrier of a particular thing, because I'm a genetic carrier of this one. If they get put together, we might have, children who have this particular trait. So it's interesting. It's, and I talk on the disease side, but there's also a lot of other ramifications as we get more and more into DNA. If you want blonde-haired, blue-eyed children, it's possible with this now that you could be looking for a partner that would help you with that dream you have of your children. So I don't know. I mean,
dream of the Aryan race.
Yeah. I mean, but there's some truth to that, so, but there's that. But 23andMe has filed for bankruptcy.
Oh, really?
They have never made money. They, I think their plan always was, I think the kits, I think they're like $79 now to buy the DNA kit. And I think there's a monthly fee for 23andMe. It's a little different model than Ancestry. Ancestry does actually charge a monthly or an annual fee for developing your tree and stuff. I think 23andMe really was more on the DNA side, where Ancestry really made it about, building out your ancestry. And then they added the DNA thing as just kind of an add-on feature to what they did. So their business models are a little different. And what's interesting about this is that in the 23andMe thing, they have a privacy clause that says that the information is yours unless you've opted in for sharing your information to third-party places. 4 out of 5 people opted in for the research side of it. So almost, that's a lot. I mean, it's many millions of people. And now the concern is will Ancestry sell that information, or will they be ordered? I mean, that would be another thing that I think is possible. The judge might say, hey, you have $100 million debt here. You have these companies that are willing to pay you $100 million for this, and the judge orders that those creditors get taken care of this way, right? So I think there's some real challenges here about privacy versus this, and I want your first thoughts on that.
My first thoughts are I can't remember where I saw it recently, Marlo, but it was a depiction of 4 women sitting around a table talking about this very thing, what they found out from doing their ancestry. The first 3 women said, this about themselves and this about themselves, and the fourth one said, I don't know why I would want to give a company that much information about myself that could then ultimately wind up in the wrong hands.
Right.
And so that's where my head goes first is, do we really want to do that to ourselves? But yet at the same time, I understand the benefits of it. My wife was adopted. She has almost no information whatsoever about what her medical history is, from her heritage. So it would be beneficial that way.
Has she done any of the DNA stuff yet?
She hasn't. She did get to meet her biological father, so that has opened the door to that side of her biological family. But her biological mother's side is a complete mystery, and a 23andMe or Ancestry would be a perfect way to find out.
Yeah, it would certainly shortcut the process. That's for sure. And it's relatively inexpensive to do that. So we'll talk more about this after the break, everybody.
Welcome back to the Tech Ranch. We're thrilled to have you with us as we continue exploring living with technology alongside Marlo and Steve.
And we are back, everybody, talking about DNA and Ancestry and 23andMe. 23andMe have filed bankruptcy, and Jim Silverman's in studio, and we're kind of debating what this means. And I'll give you a little background on 23andMe, Jim. It was founded in 2006 in California. It launched its spit test and personal genome service the following year, and the initial cost was $1,000 to do this. The test won Time Magazine's Invention of the Year in 2008, just to show you how significant this was. And it put choice in the hands of consumers about whether their spit sample is kept by the company or whether their de-identified genetic and other data is used in research. 4 in 5 people who bought a 23andMe test have agreed to their data being used in research. Okay. And I can't imagine how beneficial that has been to researchers and whatever in their chase to find cures for different things, right? I mean, it has to be that way. Okay, so as we go along, however, if you dig a bit deeper, it's clear that 23andMe uses people's data in many different ways, such as sharing it with service providers. Perhaps most importantly, if the company goes bankrupt or is sold, people's information might be accessed, sold, or transferred as well. Now, I don't know. I guess to me, that's not really that big of a deal. I mean, I'm actually more concerned about somebody stealing my social security number, which, by the way, we're going to talk about in the show. So hang on for that, everybody, because mine has been stolen.
Okay.
So we're going to talk about that a little bit, so to me, it doesn't feel like a invasion in privacy. I mean, people can look at me and they can probably tell that I'm Scandinavian. Probably don't see that I'm as much Sicilian as I am. But it doesn't really concern me that much. And I also think about, the good to humanity. If I can help in some little way, helping break the code for cancer or whatever, I think that's cool. But I don't know. I mean, I know people are so private about their medical information not being shared. I think this kind of falls into that a little bit. So
certainly does.
How do you feel about that? I mean, is that a reason why you haven't done it to this point yet? Is because of that, or?
No, it isn't a reason. I just have never felt the need for it.
Okay.
If I did, though, it would certainly be for my wife, but that's her call to make, not mine. And if she wanted to do that, I would support her in that effort. But I just haven't felt the need for it.
What about your privacy with medical records? Do you feel that this is as big a deal to you as it is to maybe somebody else? I mean, are you ultra private about people knowing about your medical history and things like that, or is it not that big a deal to you?
If I tell them, it's not that big of a deal. But for anyone to know about it, yeah, it's a big deal.
Okay.
Like, if I'm taking a certain medication, and people know that who I haven't told, might they judge me for that? For example, if you're on antidepressants or something like that. Right. It can, people look at you differently because we still have a stigma in our society that, mental illness is something that, people don't want to share.
I would imagine even, if that was publicly known, like what your medical history is, and you're being interviewed for a new job or something like that, that could actually impact that as well.
Yeah, absolutely it can.
I never really thought about that before.
Yeah.
But I'd never really worked for anybody before either, so it's to me not a big deal, I guess. But who would hire me anyway, Jim?
Well,
there's that, right?
That's the truth. But no, you bring up a valid point. If you had to share your medical history with that, might an employer choose somebody who doesn't have as the same health concerns as the best qualified candidate?
So it'll
be a problem.
Yeah, it kind of allows the person, if you're in whatever position, in life, if you want to volunteer the information to somebody, you can, but it's not their right to know.
Exactly.
Type of thing. So, okay. Well, I don't know how. So you can go into 20. So all of you that are listening to us, we probably freaked you out a little bit about this 23andMe thing. You can go into your 23andMe account, and this is what I'm going to do with my information because I just don't know what's going to happen with it. I'm going to screenshot the information they have in there because I do want to keep it. I don't think there's a way you can download it, but you can go in and look at it and screenshot it on your computer, right? So then you have those images that you can have for in the future, and then I'm going to delete my information.
Okay.
Because you can go in there and delete it, and then it won't be shared anymore or whatever, supposedly. I mean, you can only trust so far, of course, but
to talk about, there's delete and then there's delete.
Yeah, that's exactly. Do you have, I should call 23andMe, do you have the delete feature? Because we really want it to be gone. Yeah, but I think the biggest thing is it's just a little scary about where this information could land.
I agree with you, Marlo. Yeah, if it goes only to another DNA company that has gone through the whole process of setting up rules and things like that, fine.
Yeah, like if it goes to
Google, if it goes to Microsoft, if it goes to whatever, the U.S. government, that is unnerving to me.
I mean, I'm going to make light of this. I mean, if Google were to buy, my DNA and found out that I have male syndrome balding or whatever it's called, right? I mean, would I see more advertising for bald men, for example, male pattern balding? That's what it is. And I'm making light of that. But I mean, if they knew these things, would the advertising change a little bit to you? And of course, it would be, because it's more specific, Google makes more money on it because the more niche-y things are, the more expensive the ads get, right? So it is a money play when you really think about those type of things. I never thought about the Google thing before. That's really interesting, Jim. Yeah. Anyway, everybody, so go get your information, delete it from 23andMe if you so desire, because they are in bankruptcy right now, and who knows where that will end up. So just a warning.
And if you don't think it's going to matter where it goes, well, then you're fine.
Yep.
If you have any questions or want to suggest topics for future shows, visit thetechranch.com and send us your thoughts. You can also listen to past episodes and watch exclusive interviews not featured on the radio show. Be sure to follow Marlo and Steve on social media by clicking the links at thetechranch.com. Until next time, keep exploring the world of living with technology. The Tech Ranch.
Supertalk 1270.
This is Outdoor Issues with Neil Roberts and North Dakota Game and Fish outreach biologist Greg Gullickson.
Talking North Dakota State Game and Fish content this week on Outdoor Issues. And Greg, a relatively new facet of this is an app. Tell us more about your department's app.
Yeah, if you just simply Google North Dakota Game and Fish, and however you download your app, so whether it's Android, Apple, whatever system you use, it's really neat. And I use this a lot. You know, it tracks your current location. You can turn that on or off, but I usually leave it on. It shows you sunrise, sunset from wherever you're at. One of the main things that I use, especially when I'm setting the decoys out for ducks or geese, it shows the wind speed. And then it also has the near me information. You can click on that. It'll show you the hunting units, the different vendors for license, the warden information, different game and fish district offices, and for chronic wasting disease, that deer head collection. A couple different options on the bottom of the app would be your home screen, your wallet, where you can actually open up and show the warden that license. You can buy and apply on there, and there's also a reporting tab as well where you can report what you see out in the field.
All right, good stuff, Greg. And hey, we'll have more on the app when we come back.
From small game rifles to personal protection, Hunter Firearms has it all. Voted #1 gun store in North Dakota, Hunter Firearms has over 1,700 guns at great prices. Benelli, Colt, Kimber, Springfield, plus knives, ammo, and reloading supplies. With a knowledgeable staff providing one-on-one service. Buy, sell, trade. Hunter Firearms in Stanley, off the 4-lane of Highway 2, 45 minutes west of Minot. Monday through Saturday, 10 till 6. HunterFirearmsLLC.com.
It's easy to put off saving for retirement, but it can be even easier than you think to start. And once you do, you can feel more confident about your future. As a financial professional of Thrivent, let me help you define your financial goals and take realistic steps to help you reach them. It comes down to making choices about your money that match your values, because even small steps can get you where you want to go. Contact me, financial associate Andy Laris, at 701-509-5794.
Talking the North Dakota State Game and Fish app today on Outdoor Issues. And Greg, the usefulness of our phones out and about really makes this app extra attractive, right?
Absolutely. And again, just simply search for North Dakota Game and Fish app. It's very useful. One thing is mapping, lake contours, the plots land. You can pull a lot of stuff up on your phone, but don't be afraid to still pull out the old paper map or pick up the phone and call someone as well.
All right, good stuff, Greg. Hey, that'll put a wrap on this report. Until next time, I'm Neil Roberts.
You've been listening to Outdoor Issues, brought to you in part by Hunter Firearms, Stanley, North Dakota, by Andy Laris, your Thrivent financial advisor in Minot, and enjoy a home-cooked meal at Homesteaders in Minot.
From America's #1 travel radio show, I'm Robert Carey.
And I'm Mary Carey with today's RM World Travel Minutes.
Here's an email sent to us from Patrick in Denver, who is asking, I fly between our offices regularly, and my flight times usually have me on planes for breakfast and dinner. My company books me mostly on American, Delta, and United. That suppresses my loyalty status and means I'm flying in economy a lot. Why can't the airlines serve a decent hot meal? Is there any airline out there who serves up some good food?
The quality of airline food has been going downhill for years now. We say you're better off eating at airport lounges if you have access, at the various airport restaurants, or just bring something from home that you're going to be able to get through airport security. What airlines serve flyers today is a joke, and that goes for all classes of service.
Yeah, we can't say that enough, folks. By the way, the airlines, they know most passengers, they don't eat because they're hungry. They eat on planes as a way to pass time because they're bored. There are some international carriers that we can recommend. Domestically, Delta's probably the best, but that is not saying much.
No, it's not, and that's sad in many ways. So anyway, for more travel info, anytime, stay connected with us at rmworldtravel.com.
What happens is now that you're taking some of these, maybe these older media and turning them into a digital file. I just had a gentleman a few months ago, he brought in 4 LPs and a cassette tape. And they were still in the original packaging, so I knew who the artist was and what the track names were. So I was able to basically digitize those files for him and put them on a CD. But I didn't want to sit there and manually type in. A lot of them were polka waltzes or like saxophone jazz. Type in like midnight sax.
Well,
yeah. Herb Grebnick and his polka boys, stuff like that. And so I can basically I can name the file whatever I want. I can say track 1, track 2, track 3. And then I load those into my MP3 tag application. And then if I know the artist and the album, I can actually use some plugins that they have available and search CD databases all over the place. It used to be Grace Note or FreeDB. When you loaded your CD into iTunes, it automatically came up and said, okay, here's the artist, here's the track name and number, and you could import it that way, and it would automatically populate the tracks for you when you imported them. Some of those have gone away now, but there's a website out there called Discogs, Discogs, discography basically, and it is it's like a wiki. It lists pretty much every version of an album that's out there. The American release, the British release, live versions.
Well, that's the other part of it too, because you see you'll have a foreign release, British release, or U.S. release, and sometimes you'll have different artists doing the same song because the record label. They had a British artist, and going back to the 50s and 60s especially, and you had an American artist, and they didn't mix the two genres. Great song, but you're going to do it over here, and you're going to do it over here, because a lot of people didn't cross the pond back then, and before the Beatles really started doing it.
And so I can actually search by artist and album, and it pulls up a list of the tracks on that file. If it's an LP or a vinyl record, it actually shows me the vinyl tracks, side A, side B. And then I can automatically populate the track name and the file name with that information without having to type it in manually, which is really great. But a lot of times I run into situations where I have no idea who the artist is. Maybe somebody brought me in a blank cassette tape that they recorded off the radio or something, and they wanted me to convert it. How do you figure out what is there? I mean, obviously we have apps like Shazam or SoundHound where you play a snippet of the song and it'll tell you who sang it and what the artist was. But for some of that, it's not perfect because it really just looks at song databases.
So I have and I just discovered this a couple months ago. I have on my Google search on my phone, I'll click the button to speak into the phone, and then down at the bottom it'll say search for song ? And if I push that button, then I can whistle, hum, sing, pull something off the speaker that's playing on the radio, and it'll tell me what that song is.
That's really handy. I mean, because
basically it's SoundHound built into my phone.
Yeah, Shazam, I mean, it will only do like listened music, and sometimes it doesn't even catch the song.
This is the Pet Minute. I'm Steve Dale. Redirection is a key to potty training. Next, your dog loves going to the dog park and seeing his buddies. Maybe sometimes when you travel, he gets to hang out with friends at his favorite boarding facility. Social dogs like yours need more protection than most. By pairing Bordetella Protection, also known as kennel cough, with immunity against canine influenza, we can help ensure these dogs stay healthy. Merck Animal Health wants you to talk with your veterinarian about pairing up for protection with vaccines for your dog for kennel cough and the canine influenza virus. Don't wait, vaccinate. Redirect and reward so puppy gets it right, says veterinary technician Debbie Martin.
Redirect them if we catch them in the act of going in an inappropriate place or undesired human place. That might be just saying their name in an upbeat tone, making a kissy sound, reminding them, let's go outside, and then redirect them to the appropriate location.
Stay consistent and you'll have puppy potty trained in no time. For the Pet Minute, I'm Steve Dale.
KLXX AM, Mandan, Bismarck, a town square media station, broadcasting from the View Community Credit Union Studio.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. With just 3 days to go before Election Day, candidates and running mates are making their final pitch to undecided voters. Republican VP candidate Senator J.D. Vance at a campaign rally in Las Vegas earlier, focusing on oil production.
When Donald J. Trump is president, it's very simple. We're going to drill, baby, drill. That is going to do.
The Energy Department shows the U.S. currently is the top energy producer in the world, including crude oil and natural gas. Donald Trump held a rally outside Charlotte, vowing victory. Vice President Kamala Harris in Atlanta, saying Americans are ready to turn the page from nearly a decade of Trump.
We're done with that. We are exhausted.
TGI Fridays filing for bankruptcy protection due to weakening sales. The chain signaled troubles earlier this week, closing nearly 50 locations. And it's marathon weekend in New York City. 50,000 runners participating in Sunday's famed race. This is ABC News. An old tree in a tiny town is headed to the big city.
A Norway spruce that grew to towering heights in the tiny western Massachusetts town of West Stockbridge, now selected to become the next Rockefeller Center Christmas tree. Peter Giles Thorne lives there.
It's a wonderful story.
Bernie Fallon knows its history.
The owner tells me it was planted 67 years ago in honor of his nieces in a home that is the oldest home in West Stockbridge, Mass, built in 1769.
Next up for the tree, New York City, where it will be adorned with 50,000 lights and lit on December 4th. Dave Packer, ABC News.
The death toll in Spain rising, more than 200 dead after historic flash flooding this week. The Valencia region hit hardest. More than 50,000 runners gearing up for Sunday's New York City Marathon, the famous race winding through the city's 5 boroughs. The NYPD says there are no credible threats, but security is tight. Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Give the star in your life the brightest gift in the world. Name a star after them. This is Rocky Moselle with International Star Registry. For $59 and a call to 800-282-3333 or visit starregistry.com, you can name a star for birthdays, weddings, or even memorials. Over 45 years, we have named millions of stars for celebrities and individuals from around the world. The star you name will be recorded in book form in the U.S. Copyright Office. Visit starregistry.com or call 800-282-3333.
Supertalk 1270, Bismarck area weather.
With your forecast, I'm Corey Hartman. Areas of fog today, otherwise mostly sunny, breezy, highs near 53. For tonight, chance of rain, a low of 42. Rain and 53 for Sunday. Sunday night, a low around 33, still breezy. Monday, breezy and 49 with sunshine. For the best barbecue sauce on the planet, try Grandpa's secret recipe, grandpa'sbbqshop.com.
It's 43 at our studios. From ABC Sports, I'm Joey Weiler. Right now, college football fourth quarter scores in the Biggie. Number 4 Ohio State leading 20-13 at third-ranked Penn State. Will Howard 2 touchdown passes. Miami outscoring Duke 39-31. Malik Murphy 3 TD throws. Ole Miss a 56-24 bulge at Arkansas. Jackson Dart 6 touchdown passes, 5 to Jordan Watkins. Illinois coming from behind for a 17-16 lead on Minnesota. Virginia Tech leads at Syracuse 28-24. Army has beaten Air Force 20-3. Black Knights quarterback Bryson Daly out with an undisclosed illness, but his club winning anyway. Elsewhere, Patriots rookie quarterback Trevor May clears concussion protocol, so he'll start tomorrow at Tennessee. Mets pitcher Sean Manaea opting out of his deal, becoming a free agent. Cubs outfielder Cody Bellinger opts in next year at $27.5 million. Yankees decline their option on first baseman Anthony Rizzo. He's a free agent. Yanks ace Garrett Cole reportedly opts out, but New York can retain him by adding 1 year, $36 million to the 4 seasons left on his contract. During yesterday's Dodgers championship parade, a rarity for Shohei Ohtani, addressing the crowd in English.
I'm so honored to be here and to be part of this team. Thank you, fans.
An estimated 250,000 people attending. The NBA's 2 unbeaten teams remaining so last night. Cavaliers improved to 6-0, beating the Magic. Darius Garland, 25 points.
It's super fun to see. Everybody, like I told you earlier, the ball has energy, so everybody feels important. Everybody feels like they're part of the offense. So it's good to see that everybody's touching it, everybody scores. So that means it's all around the game.
And the Thunder roll at Portland. OKC now 5-0. NHL right now in the third, Bruins a 2-0 lead at Philly. In Finland today, Panthers 4-2 over the Stars, sweeping 2 there. Joey Waller, ABC.
Offer not valid in all states or where prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Honey, the credit card bill came, and we're maxed out.
Maxed out cards, rent is due. We just need some extra cash to help us get by.
Maybe we should go to 27cash.com.
With our bad credit,
27cash.com is one of the largest largest personal loan networks. They can help people with any type of credit get up to $5,000, and cash can hit our bank account as soon as tomorrow.
When you need extra cash, go to 27cash.com. That's 27cash.com. 27cash.
Offer not valid in all states or prohibited by law. Loans are subject to lender approval. See website for details.
Bills piling up? Rent due? Just need some extra cash to get by? Then you need to go to 89cash.com, where you can get approved for a loan of up to $10,000 in minutes. No need to search through endless loan sites. 89cash.com is one of the largest lender networks. They can help anyone get up to $10,000 regardless of their credit score. Best part? The money can be in your bank account as soon as the next day. When you need fast cash help, go to 89cash.com. That's 89cash.com.
Your destination for travel news and ideas. RM World Travel. Sunday morning, starting at 5 on Super Talk 1270 and the free Super Talk 1270 mobile app.
Portions of the following program are pre-recorded.
Welcome to the Tech Ranch, where we explore the world of living with technology. Get ready to take a deep dive into the latest gadgets, apps, and innovations with your hosts, the Guru of Geek, Marlo Anderson, and his trusty co-host, Steve Bakken. Join us on this exciting journey, and don't forget to visit thetechranch.com for even more exclusive content. Now, without further ado, let's welcome Marlo and Steve to the Tech Ranch.
So let's see, we've covered DNA today, we've covered AI agents, we've covered building apps and lowering that barrier to businesses. And I think we're probably going to end up talking about this the rest of the show, Jim. So Jim Silverman's in the studio, everybody. And it's been a great conversation so far.
Always is, Marlo. Always is.
It is. Robots. Have you seen what's going on here? Did we talk about this last week? Maybe a little bit.
I wasn't in last week.
Then the week before. All right. So we didn't talk about it because it's only been in the last week or two. So I'll get that out here. The Tesla robot, Optimus. Have you seen this?
I have not.
Okay. So have you seen the movie, was it iRobot or We Robot? Back about 20 years ago?
iRobot.
Okay. Yeah. Where they had the robots. I think it was Will Smith that was in the movie. And anyway, these robots, so the Optimus, he's been, Elon's
Prime.
Been, no Prime at the end of it. It's
not Optimus Prime.
Not Optimus Prime. It's always interesting. People actually, Elon kind of borrows these names like Tesla or whatever, he just likes them. And it's really interesting when he talks about, or when he names his companies and his products, because these are things that people already know. Like Optimus Prime, right? I find that very, very interesting, but it's a great marketing ploy as well. They think that he's not creative in that regard, and I'm thinking it's ultra brilliant.
Yeah.
Why do people sample old songs when they create new songs? Is because there's familiarity and it becomes a hit again, right? So that's why they do that, and it's the same is true with business. But Optimus originally could barely stand. It's a humanoid, stands about the height that we are. Arms and legs and the whole bit. I mean, it's very humanoid. And, the first year started to walk a little bit. The next year it walked a little bit more, started to move its arms a little bit. And then this year, when they rolled out with their annual thing, they rolled out the new autonomous vehicle, fully autonomous by Tesla, coming out in a year or so. They rolled out the autonomous van, cool van. But to me, the big thing, there's another big thing too, but we're not going to get to that today. But the robot. So the robot was serving drinks. There was robots in the crowd mingling with people, talking to people. It's utterly amazing what has gone on, and I'm sure the rise of artificial intelligence has really added to this, right? I mean, the fact that you can talk to a robot like I'm talking to you, and it's just like ChatGPT, it laughs and it's optimistic, but it's not always, and things like that. It's really interesting. And this is, in my opinion, well, first, I'm going to stop right there. What are your thoughts of that right now?
Just tells me that another version of Star Trek is coming through because, how many times they would talk to the computer and
yes,
it would answer them.
Yeah.
So, it's, again, I think entertainment leads the way in giving us direction of where we're going to go.
Interesting. So the goal here is Elon thinks that within a short period of time that his robots will cost in that $15,000 to $20,000 range. And I'm sure he'll have a payment plan just like he does for his cars or whatever. He believes that the ability for people to have robots will be the single biggest thing ever in humankind. And you think about what it does. And this thing that I talked about earlier this week at this event in South Dakota about AI and the gift of time. And that's how I feel about AI, by the way. It has given me more time to do more things, unfortunately. As you well know,
yes,
I do way more stuff than I should. But I also think, and it's because I think I can do more because I have AI. But I also try to keep all these crazy things I have going on in my life within that 8-hour workday now as well, because I have AI. If I didn't have it, all the things I have going on, I would never be able to, watch a Star Trek or go out for dinner with my friends or whatever, because that's all I would do is work. So I look at AI as a gift of time. Mm-hmm. And I look at our new version of robots coming as a gift of time as well. The most obvious things are, first and foremost, I think people who are debating whether they should go into assisted living and those type of things, this technology will keep you in your home a lot longer. I mean, you think about a $15,000 to $20,000 investment that, if you go into assisted living, you might be moving out of a house you don't even hardly pay anything for anymore because you've paid for it in your lifetime to a place that you're going to be spending $60,000, $80,000, $150,000 a year. So having this, and people want to stay home. They don't want to go to these places if they don't have to, right? I mean, if you have a robot that's humanoid that can walk your dog, clean up after your dog, move snow, mow the yard, wash your clothes, cook for you, remind you to take your medicine, get your medicine for you, help you up out of your chair, and so much more, dust, vacuum, all the household things that you normally do in a day's time, and you don't have to do those anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's incredible. And then for a family, you have a family, right? And this is where the trust thing kind of comes in, but he talks about how your household robot will take care of your children. Mm-hmm. That's a big leap of trust right there. But I mean, just having Fido, scratching at the door because he needs to go out, and the robot will just do it for you at 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
I mean, these are life-changing things that give you the gift of time. So what are you going to do with that? Hopefully you won't spend more time in front of the screen. You hopefully will spend more time with your loved ones or exploring and traveling and things like that. But even the traveling scenario, right? My mom would never travel because she has pets. That was always her excuse. I have pets and, there's no place to board them and she didn't want to inconvenience anybody. Imagine not having to worry about it because your robot will walk your dog. It'll feed your dog. It'll take care of all of these things for you. So then all of a sudden you can go out on weekend excursions or take a week here or whatever and do these things. And I'm just kind of setting up the next segment here, but it truly is this thing with AI and robots that are just coming right at us right now is going to change us in a way that we've never, we won't need to chop wood anymore, and we won't need to do these things because our robots will do these for us. And I'm looking at the positive side of things. I know there's the other side of this too, but I just think of this gift of time that is going to be given to all of us is remarkable.
And we're back with the Tech Ranch, getting ready for more amazing tech insights from the guru of geek, Marlo Anderson.
And we are back talking about robots. Robots you're going to have in your house or your business or whatever. And I spent the entire last segment, almost the entire segment, talking about this, Jim. Now it's your turn. You get to respond to all of that.
Just so everybody knows, he went to break and I was talking. He said, "Oh, by the way, we're on break right now." Thanks very much. But so you're talking about this, and it just reminded me. What was the robot's name on the Jetsons?
It is Rosie.
Rosie,
yes.
So Elon Musk is talking about having Rosies in every home.
It truly is incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
And is this the first thing I have for you, I guess, is this something you would, and I'm just throwing this at you. Let's say it was $20,000 for the robot. It's $300 a month. Would that be something that you would do?
I'd have to think about it. I do have to do a cost benefit analysis on it, return on investment, that sort of thing, to make sure that it is worth my time. But it reminds me, being that you and I are both from the era before personal computers. There was conversation at the time of, pretty soon people are going to have these, have one of these computers in their homes. And it was like, yeah, right. Who's going to be able to afford it? And if you can afford it, why would you? That sort of thing. But now look at where we are.
Everybody has one.
Everybody has one. And so, yes, I think there will come a time when that will be just a standard. But again, looking at the the scheme of things, not everybody will be able to have one. And will that make for a greater divide between those that have and those that don't?
That's a great question.
I think, it'd be wonderful to have those things. I just hope they can someday be affordable for everyone.
I do think that I'm thinking on a level like maybe people who can't afford a home yet, right? But you've done this too, I'm sure. When I was younger, I lived in apartment buildings before I could afford to live, I have a home or whatever. I mean, that's kind of the rite of passage, isn't it? You just go through this in your life and you save up a couple dollars and then you can finally get a home for yourself. I mean, that's kind of how it works. But I see, this is a couple things that I see like with apartment dwellers, so to speak, right? First of all, I think the autonomous vehicles are going to just really start to integrate into our world now. I mean, with this first autonomous vehicle coming out next year, and Elon stated that he can turn on most of the Teslas to full autonomous mode. When that legislation finally passes, which it sounds like it must be on its way because he's building a fully autonomous vehicle right now and planning to build this van as well, that the people who live in homes and apartments, and when I say homes, I mean like group homes and apartments and stuff, part of that fee or that rent that you pay will be for the use of the car.
Sure.
Because the car, or maybe 4 or 6 of them, will come with the apartment complex, however big the apartment complex is. And then you won't have to have all these garages around anymore because many of the people won't even need to have a car. You just order up like you order and Lyft and an Uber, and the car will, take your neighbor's kids to school and will come back and then take you to work and come back. And, you'll have this kind of internal shuttle service that goes on within your apartment complex. I also believe that robots will also be part of that scenario.
Probably.
So when you're because really when you think about it, I mean, your robot would probably be busy maybe 3 to 4 hours a day. I mean, you leave in the morning after you have breakfast, clean up after you. I mean, once all the basically catch up chores that you have going on in your house are completed. And I'm sure you have a list like I have a list, right, of the different things. then it would probably not be needed as much. It'll just be the day-to-day things that you have going on. So then you could share that robot with a couple homes or a whole apartment complex or whatever, and it will do all of your cleaning and everything in all of these places. So yeah, I think that's how it's going to go.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting? When we talk about the trust factor, isn't it interesting that the idea of a personal robot in a home wasn't developed first before autonomous vehicles? Because I think far more people would trust a robot to take care of things at home than they would driving them 75 miles an hour.
Right. I do think, though, that there's a lot more to a robot than an autonomous car. I mean, you already had the car. You already had the technology that would take you down the road. It was a matter of how you adapt that so that it's driving by itself. A robot, on the other hand, is a whole different scenario of things. I mean, how do you move a limb? And how do you command it to go grab a glass without busting the glass in half when you grab it and things like that? These are significant things that they had to overcome.
I don't disagree with you. I just think if you're just looking at the trust issue of do I trust AI, do I trust it to clean my house as opposed to driving me?
Sure. So would you feel better? This is a great question, by the way, that you're kind of maybe building to. If you don't have an autonomous car, would you let your robot drive your current car for you? Does that seem better or safer?
No, it does not. It reminds me, do you remember way back when? I know you have dealings with Volkswagen.
Yes.
But way back when the Volkswagen Beetle was there, they had a brilliant ad that showed a stick shift in the Volkswagen Beetle. And the ad was simply a person saying, it makes me feel needed. And I thought that was a cool way. And
because you had this
driving myself is as opposed to somebody else driving me is I am able to do something.
I've noticed that because every time you and I go on a road trip, you seem to be driving my car. So you're the only person that ever has done that. So that's kind of cool. But all right, everybody, after the break, we will continue our conversation on autonomous vehicles, robots, and all cool things.
You've returned to the Tech Ranch, where technology is our passion. Let's jump back into the conversation with Marlo and Steve.
And it's all things robots and autonomous vehicles and all kinds of cool stuff. Things that will save you time as we're marching forward here. Jim Silverum is my guest today. And it's been quite the conversation so far. It's been fun.
Always fun.
So what I would be curious, and what we're talking about, everybody, is the Tesla Optimus. It's a brand new robot that's very humanoid and can pretty much do the things that we can do as far as cleaning the house and cooking for you and things like that. They're expecting that the price range in a couple of years will be in that $15,000 to $20,000 range. So we're kind of talking between ourselves about what we would kind of use these things for. So on your honey-do list at home, are there things that you would just say, robot, go do these? Because I know how much you like to mow the yard, and you have this crazy yard with 182 trees in it that takes you, 18 hours a week to do or some crazy thing. But would you give up some of that responsibility to a robot? I mean, would you, for example, let the robot mow around the trees, for example, and then you could just mow the front yard? That's easier.
Oh, I would give up the whole mowing business.
Oh, you would?
If they would come out with an autonomous mower that also did bagging of leaves, yeah.
But
honestly, I have a lot of cottonwoods in my yard, and they not only drop leaves, they drop sticks.
Yeah.
So I would love to have somebody else clean up those sticks.
So this robot we're talking about would do this for you.
Yeah.
Your yard would be impeccable all the time.
That would be awesome. That's one of the reasons I would move into, a community that has an HOA, because I don't need to do that. There's plenty of other things that I can spend my time on going for wonderful hikes. I can't take my dog out and mow with me.
Right.
It's, if I can go down to Fort Lincoln State Park and hike around there like I like to do, or any of the other state parks or the national park, in our state, I gladly do those things as opposed to mowing.
So this is interesting. So in your cost analysis, so let's just break this down a little bit. Just the mowing aspect of Jim Silrum's life. How many hours a week do you think you spend in your yard right now?
At least 2 to 3.
2 to 3 hours a week. So let's just say it's 2. You have 26 weeks. We'll just say half the year you probably spend in your yard mowing and picking up sticks and whatever else you do, right? So 26 times 2 is 52 hours a week. Maybe a mower. I figured I got 80 back or a year. That's right. Thank you. So 52 hours a year times 5 is 250 hours. I'm just using that as an example. If we're going to cost analysis, over 5 years for the depreciation of the robot, and the robot costs $20,000. So you would have, what's that, 200? So I mean, you're at about what, $100 an hour or so to do that, maybe a little less, but of course it does so much more.
Right.
So I'm just using that as one example. I mean, did you ever have anybody come over and give you an estimate to how much it would cost to mow your yard every week?
Not at this current residence, no.
So at my residence that doesn't have trees, it's $70 a week.
Okay.
And it's not like yours. I would have to think that it would cost you $100 at least a week to mow your yard, right? So to me, that kind of is, if you were going to have a service do it or the robot do it, it's kind of a wash right there, right? So I just, anything else on that list? So we talked about, mowing. Is there something else that you would happily give to a robot?
Oh, yes.
See, I thought you'd have to think about this.
No, we have so many windows in our house. I would love it if we could have, I would love clean windows all the time. And that, our house is rather large. So, keeping it tidy, that sort of thing. I can get the mopping vacuum, and I can, for our hard floors and the robot vacuum, but if I could combine all of those things into one device, that would be awesome.
One of the things with, we have a 4-level house, and so we have 4 vacuum cleaners, right? Still doesn't do stairs.
Yeah.
The stairs drive me nuts all the time. I'm like, am I pulling out the vacuum today or not?
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time not. So they just continue to get worse, So I agree. I think that that's interesting too. Anything else on that list?
I'm sure there would be. I just
how often do you eat out every week?
A couple of times.
Okay. Do you eat out for convenience sometimes?
Oh, for sure.
Okay. Yeah. So would you eat more at home if a robot would be, let's say, I love roast with carrots and potatoes and all that stuff in there.
Who doesn't?
If that was waiting, if that was waiting for me once a week at home, I would give up everything to go have that, just using that as an example. So I personally would eat more at home because I eat out more for convenience than anything else.
Oh, yeah. There are way too many times, and I'm sure we're all in this.
Absolutely.
In this mode, saying, okay, we've got this to do and this to do and this to do. When are we going to find time to eat? And heavens, cooking, is on top of that.
Right.
So, I'd want to make sure that they can cook as well as I do, or as well as my wife.
Right. Well, I think they'd be pretty good at following recipes.
I would hope so.
Yeah. What about your dog? I know how much you love to walk your dog, but are there times like when it's snowing and a little windy outside that you wish, I have to take my dog for a walk, but I wish I didn't have to this time? I mean, would you give that up occasionally?
I don't think I would.
Do you board your dog?
Do I
when you travel?
We have people that will take her in.
Okay.
And we're very grateful for that. It's probably the same as boarding, but we don't go to a kennel or anything.
Okay. I'm just trying to. I'm just coming up with ideas as to how a robot would enhance your life a little bit, and we'll get into this a little bit more after the break too, because I think there's a lot of nuances to this that maybe we don't think about, and just trying to justify the cost of $20,000 to have this in your home.
Welcome back to the Tech Ranch. Let's get back to discovering the latest in technology with the guru of geek, Marlo Anderson.
Yeah, we're talking all things robots now. Tesla came out, or is about ready to come out, with the Optimus. It is a humanoid robot that will do many household chores. It'll also do a lot of things in your business. And Jim Silverum is our guest today. So at this talk, Jim, I mean, we're kind of analyzing the benefits to having a robot and if it's worth the money. And we are talking about that the robot will cost about $20,000, but it'll do your cooking, it'll do your cleaning, it'll walk your dog. You could potentially watch your kids, may even drive your car. I mean, these are the things that's possible. I gave this scenario at this talk that I did a few days ago. A lot of them were tourism directors or had tourist attractions, right? And if you were to spend, I'm just going to throw a number out at you. What do you think it costs? Like when you go into the grocery store, the door that automatically opens and closes, right? The sliding glass door.
Mm-hmm.
They have to be somewhat expensive, right?
I would think so. I don't know what they cost, but
yeah, I mean, would you think that $20,000 would be out of the question for one of those doors?
Oh, it's probably
more, isn't it? So this was the scenario I painted, because a lot of these attractions, especially if they're state attractions or whatever, they may only have $20,000 or $30,000 that they can use for that front door, right? So would you be better off to not have the sliding door, put a couple of regular doors in that might cost a couple $3,000 to do, and buy a robot that then opens the door for everybody that comes in? Oh, and that's right. It will also answer questions. It can almost be a tour guide for your place a little bit, or even the simplest question, like, where's the bathroom? And the robot can direct you to the bathrooms or whatever it is, right? And then after hours, it can mop the floors, sweep the floors, clean those public restrooms for you, and have coffee for you in the morning when you get back to work.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to me, it's almost like a no-brainer. I'll buy the robot
mm-hmm.
and put it in because it can do so much more than just open a door.
Sure. And right now, thinking about how much of an attraction that would be in and of itself.
Oh, yeah.
Would be phenomenal. You and I have talked for the time that we've worked together that we eventually want to open up a tourist center ourselves. And mostly because of the worker shortage, we've wanted to have automated, robots to do many of the tasks that we would hire people to do.
Yep.
But we think that would be an attraction just in and of itself.
There will be a day, though, that will be just commonplace, of course, like everybody using their smartphone or whatever. This is the other thing, too, that I think people really have to think about. And this kind of goes back to the rise, in my theory of the rise of small businesses, right? First of all, the barrier of cost for developing things. So this app, like AcePut, for example, right? that would have cost us $500,000 a few years ago. We're coming in at the price that we are, right? So AcePut takes off, right? It's not possible to do it a few years ago because the barrier of cost is too much, but now it's possible to do it. And now it becomes a thing. And now we have to hire people to maintain it, right? This is what I think is going to happen. The barrier cost of entry is being just taken down so much here with these technologies that the ability to start these businesses is going to be better than ever. And as a result, you will hire more people. Robots or AI, it's estimated that AI will replace 87 million people in this country for jobs in the next 5 years. It's a huge number, right?
Okay.
But it will also create 110 million new jobs.
Sure.
So it's like the changeover from landline phones to our cell phones of today. We lost a lot of jobs because of that, but we've gained many, many, many millions more on the other side of it. AI will do the same thing. I think robots, even though it sounds like they would take jobs away, and they'll take some of these jobs, like, if you have a janitor in your building or something that, and my guess is that the janitor or the custodian in any building is overworked.
Yes.
Can't get to everything, right?
Right.
Let that person do the more difficult things and the everyday mundane things of mopping the floors and whatever. I mean, I remember walking into a school one time and there's one person in the gym and he was spending a whole month getting that floor ready for the school year again.
Right.
That's an incredible thing. Imagine having a robot that just did that, and then that person could concentrate on the bigger things that need to be done in the building. So, and this is the other thing, and I'm going to run out of time on my bandwagon here now, but small towns. This is where I think it really shines. How many small towns in North Dakota do you think have no restaurants in their town now?
Oh, I don't know the answer to that, but probably quite a few.
Quite a few, right? And would you agree with me that the restaurant is the kind of the hub of the town, the coffee shop or the restaurant, right?
Absolutely.
In these small towns, right? And the reason for that, why do you think the reason that we don't have all these restaurants or these restaurants have disappeared?
People.
So
workers.
They don't have enough workers, and there probably isn't enough business you could probably hire the workers if you could pay $50 an hour to get them in there, right?
True.
Then you would get people to come into work and other businesses would suffer. If you didn't have to do that, if two people could run the restaurant and then you would have a robot doing dishes and maybe even cooking or at least waiting tables, right? And doing those other manual things, then you don't need to have 6 people anymore. You only need 2 to run the place. And all of a sudden you have a restaurant in your town again that you wouldn't have had before. This is what I think is going to happen with robots. You're going to have this emergence of all of this technology and the potential for businesses that couldn't normally survive because you've lowered that cost of operation so much that these places can now survive. And the people who actually own it make a living from it again.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense, right?
It does.
Yeah,
it does.
So I'm excited. I really am excited because I miss going to small towns and having that small town food. Those recipes that these people have, these German people who have those wonderful schnitzel and all these other things that I miss so much because we don't have enough restaurants that do that stuff anymore. I think it'll come back. We're in our last minute, Jim. What else you got on your mind?
Well, I mean, you think about around the home too. This morning, I told you I couldn't get here until I had welcomed the plumber.
Oh, yeah.
My house, and who knows? Maybe the robot could have fixed the leaky sink for me,
or at least greeted the plumber, right?
Greeted the plumber, exactly. And
interesting point.
Then you would also have a built-in security system for your house at all times too, because the robot would be there and would deter any intruders.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I never even thought about the security thing too. So anyway, everybody, Jim, thank you again. It's hard to believe 3 hours just flew by like that. Appreciate you all joining in for the Tech Ranch this week. And next week, we'll have even more fun stuff. So stay tuned.
And that's a wrap on another fantastic episode of the Tech Ranch. Remember, if you have any questions or want to suggest topics for future shows, visit thetechranch.com and send us your thoughts. You can also listen to past episodes and watch exclusive interviews not featured on the radio show. Be sure to follow Marlo and Steve on social media by clicking the links at thetechranch.com. Until next time, keep exploring the world of living with technology.